Here we go. And as you know, but as a reminder, we record these and we distribute soon after the meeting. The PowerPoint you'll see with all the links in them so you can actually, use them. And also, the PowerPoint recordings and maybe additional information if that's needed. So why don't we go ahead and look at the agenda? So again, thanks everyone for being here. I know you have a lot on your plates, including being at council next week, so I look forward to seeing you there as well. So thanks for all the volunteerism, all of the work. We're going to do a couple of updates on a new group, on a new program, talk about honors nominations because we're right smack dab in the middle of that process, that cycle. AGU 25 recap, and we're going to do breakouts as we usually do and have you discuss these two questions. So with that, and you got the questions in advance of the call on the agenda. So let's get going here. So I'm just going to take a couple of seconds to talk about a new group, Section Leader Advisory Group. Why don't we go to the next slide? So as you know, this is part of a continuing effort. We've been working with section leaders doing research. Some of you may have taken a survey about a year and a half ago. We've presented from two statements, and this is kind of part of that work and really putting the pedal to the metal and making sure we're actually pulling together tools and resources, things like developing enhanced onboarding and really using this year to get some of these deliverables done. So we've pulled together a group of 8 to 10 people. I noticed some of you are on this call, so I want to thank you. We've got a meeting coming up in mid-March that's scheduled. And really, this group is to serve as a kind of a ready, set, go focus group to help on some of these deliverables that we've been working on researching over the last couple of years, but also to serve as a sounding board as AGU pilots and refine solutions this year. We will report back where it makes sense to the fuller section leader group, probably through these monthly meetings. But just wanted to let you know that we're continuing with that work and that research and moving on to execution, getting this group together to help us get the lens and voice of the section leader. So with that quick update, I'm now going to turn it over to Carissa Shelton. My colleague is going to talk about a new program that maybe some of you heard about, but in case not, Carissa, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Um, wanted to make sure that all of you were aware of AGU circles. AGU circles is the result of, I do see a hand in the chat. Let me know if we need to pause for that. But AGU Circles is a new program that builds on some of the past programs, past learning, and I'll speak to that more in a second. But essentially, this is an opportunity for any AGU member to come together around small cohorts where they can be focused on shared goals, things like getting your first publishing out there or preparing for the annual meeting or working through a career transition and finding colleagues to collaborate with and support one another around those goals. Or it can be things like science and the actual work and getting into kind of shared thought, shared thinking, shared efforts around similar types of work. These cohorts meet regularly. They can meet throughout the year. Right now, we have a cycle that's opening, and I'll speak to that in a second. But we have these circle cycles that happen throughout the year, and our vision is in the years to come to be able to scale this. So we've got even hundreds of cohorts happening each year where scientists are able to meet based on their interests, based on their goals. And so this is the beginning of that effort. And we'll go to the next slide because I know you can all read these through in more detail after today. But this was born out of feedback from past programs. So things like career guidance, Mentoring 365, Flight School. For those of you who were involved with Mentoring 365, the circle framing might sound familiar from how M365 worked before. as well as some changes in funding from those programs. And so we were looking to build something that would last, something that would not be disrupted by changes in funding and platforms and things like that, and really is focused on targeting these top needs that we've been hearing across our wider AGU community. And by far, one of the top things we're hearing that you all are looking for is more opportunities for connection, collaboration, sharing expertise. This includes more cross-discipline opportunities, more cross-sector opportunities, as well as more emphasis on peer-to-peer types of connections and not just top-down traditional mentoring. So there's a place for both, but this is a new way of us creating new opportunities for connection, collaboration, sharing expertise, sharing perspectives, having more peer connection. We ran a pilot in Q4, and that was really successful as an example of a lighter touch way for people to lead groups, a more effective way to have those peer-to-peer connections. This is exclusive to membership, so it's one of our unique membership offerings where we want to connect active AGU members together and to really strengthen that community identity, strengthen the value of meeting together and convening not just once a year, but throughout the year. And also, this is highly scalable. Like I said, we want this to be something where we've got, in the future, hundreds of cohorts happening and meaningful discussions and work and results happening through these groups, as well as highly customizable. So we've designed this to be adaptive to needs. We've designed this to be able to say, I have this thing I'm working on and I want to find others who are also interested in that and then to convene together. So let's go to the next slide. So a quick progress update with that. So as I mentioned, we did run a pilot of this updated approach for peer connection. It tested really well. 77% of people who were in that pilot wanted to continue. Almost 50% of people said they would feel comfortable in this context to actually lead groups. This is a big deal because in the past we had some limitations with, finding leads of groups and, do people feel comfortable? And so we're really trying to design this so that it doesn't feel too intimidating to just come alongside and help host and facilitate discussions and to really see the value of learning from one another and not necessarily having one single expert in the room. We also saw definitely an impact in more people choosing to become a member and stay a member through also the value of this work. So now where we are is we are scaling more of these groups. We have 15 groups that are currently open to people signing up and joining. We also have the option to propose groups for future, especially for the summer months and the fall months. With that, there's a lot going on in this space, and it's something where we really welcome direct feedback from our members for the types of cohorts they might want to run, as well as us looking at some options for even funding to help subsidize areas globally where it might be harder to access that membership or access this sort of non-traditional mentoring option. So we're looking at a lot of different things to really help people get access as well as to grow this. And I'll just highlight a couple of the quotes we heard from the pilot participants at the very bottom there. So you can see just the value of the supportive peer exchange, the value of this being a safe space and getting practical advice, as well as even the collective catharsis, especially with everything that's going on in the industry. And final slide, please. So as I mentioned, we do have these, I believe it's 15 specific cohorts that are either goals-based or science-based that any AGU member is welcomed to join right now. So we have draft language that we can share and then send out to every section. So if you're open to that, it's an open invitation to assist in getting the word out there and getting people connected, as well as yourselves individually or people in your community proposing groups for future circles cycles. Both of these options are on our website, and I can see that link was just put into the chat. So that website gives you a bit of a high-level description about the program and what you get and how it's trying to be adaptive to these different audiences and different needs, as well as two specific buttons to browse the current groups and register, or to propose a group for the future. So feel free to DM me if you've got specific thoughts, questions, but please read through and let me know if there's any follow-up that's helpful.
Thanks, Carissa. It's really helpful. We have a few questions in the chat, so why don't we entertain those before we move on? So let's see. What is the platform? Is the question.
Yes. So we are currently using, it happens to also be called the Circles platform. Um, we are currently evaluating some of the platforms, though, to make sure that the Circles platform is fit for purpose as we do scale and we envision that future of a lot of different groups running at the same time. We want to make that as smooth as possible. Um, if we do in the future, in evaluating the platforms, if we do need to make a switch of that platform, it wouldn't disrupt the actual running of the group. So the goal would be to make sure it's seamless in that effort. So right now it's the Circles platform. For that, I think there was one other question.
Yeah, the size, are there size limits to the cohorts?
So currently, what we've seen is, with any effectively free, free for members, virtual program, we all expect to see initial attrition of people who sign up versus people who show up in the first session. So we've been capping the groups right now around that 20 to 25 mark so that then we get, around 10-ish, 11, 12 people in those groups. We're trying to get that sort of small to medium balance of enough people in the room to have meaningful discussions, without too many people in the room where it feels like you can't have those meaningful discussions. So right now, that's how we've been approaching it. But of course, we want to be able to be adaptive in the future too, if there's times where we want really focused, targeted smaller groups or times where it's appropriate to have larger discussions as well.
Great. And then a couple of other quick questions. It says it seems you have to register to see existing circles. Is that right?
You can click the form, and the form has a description of the circles. So you don't have to actually register to see them. But right now, because this is a minimum viable product, an MVP version of this program where we're wanting to get it out there, we want people to be using it. Right now, the registration is a Microsoft form, which has the descriptions of the current groups, and then people can submit and sign up for those groups if they're interested. In the future, we plan to improve that registration process so it's even clearer on the website and smoother to follow those steps.
All right. And one more. Rachel, I see you had a first question earlier. Is it possible to share the names of group leaders and their sections?
Yes, the way this currently works today is that people register their interest and register if they're willing to lead that group they're interested in. And then we review those applicants. It's a combination of first come, first serve and making sure that they're comfortable with leading. They've kind of done some similar things before. And then we select a lead. So then once we confirm participants of each group, we're also confirming the lead of that group. And then those leads get additional training and support and materials so that those groups run effectively. So that's how it's currently working.
Great. Thanks so much, Carissa. And please, reach out to Carissa, all of us on staff, if you have questions. We're really excited about the launch of the program and really want to get lots and lots of feedback as you participate. So let us know. Let's now jump to honors. So just a quick preview here. So we've got Leah and Hannah. Many of you know them already, who head up major parts of our honors programs. They're going to provide an update on where we are with the program cycle. Currently, as you know, we're in the nomination stage with deadlines soon approaching. One of the deadlines is Monday. So we wanted to take this opportunity and come on. And while there's still a little time, particularly with regard to what might be important for sections to know. Also, very soon in the next few days, your honors section selection committees will be getting information about a live webinar that's going to take place. Um, the webinar is going to talk about how to onboard them to their roles, and there'll be a recording as well, but it'll start with a live webinar. During the webinar, we're going to provide guidance and answer questions as well as outline staff support, which may be a little more streamlined than in the past for those of you who've sat on committees. But we'll provide those details then. Also, this allows me to remind you, and I'm sure you've gotten a lot of these reminders already, so apologies, that we need to fully confirm all the committee rosters. particular so we can reach out to them with this honors process and to give them outreach to them and give them the information they need to help and the support that we appreciate so much as a volunteer. I know Josh has been in touch. Now I'm putting my voice in the mix here to please get us that information as soon as possible. Josh was also going to continue to follow up with their holes because there are quite a few. But we really want to get to those committees about onboarding, outlining the process, what are the key milestones, what they can expect this year in terms of process and deadlines. So, with that, I am going to turn it over to Leah and Hannah. I'm not sure who's going first, so over to you.
All right, thanks, Rosa. I'm up first and then I'll pass to Leah. So, hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Hannah Hoffman. As Rosa mentioned, I am a member of the honors team here at AGU. Specifically, I head up day-to-day operations of AGU's Fellows Program. So, on this slide, we're just taking a brief look at the 2026 honors nomination submission deadlines. We've pulled out information that's really relevant to you all. So as Rosa mentioned, we do have a deadline just around the corner on Monday, hydrology section awards and lectures. That's the first deadline for the honors program. And then for all other sections, the nomination submission deadline is Friday, March 13th. So also coming up here in the next few weeks. So we just wanted to make sure to call that to everyone's attention. All right, Josh, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. So we also wanted to provide a reminder of the outreach that we've been doing this year around honors and the different ways that we've been advertising the cycle. So many of you are probably already aware that we've been reaching out to active canvassing committees. You've been CC'd on some of those communications. We've provided canvassing committees with member lists, demographic information, general information about the various portions of AGU's honors program to help them as they work to identify candidates. We've also been, as I'm sure you've all seen, posting on a weekly basis in your sections, discussion communities, and AGU Connect, really just trying to make sure that the entire community stays informed about where we are in terms of submission numbers by program and also by honor. So there's a spreadsheet attached to those posts every week that provides a really detailed breakdown of where we are at in terms of submissions to date. And then lastly, we've also been doing a variety of other promotion around the 2026 nomination cycle. So you've likely also received the emails that we've been sending to all membership or seen the ads in AGU Weekly. We've also been doing some targeted outreach via email campaigns and then also a lot of social media promotion, including a video that was posted within the last few weeks, kind of outlining what it means to receive an honor. All right, so we can go ahead and head to the next slide. All right, so as I mentioned and Rosa alluded to as well, this is the type of information that you all are receiving on a weekly basis in AGU Connect. This is actually a snapshot of the information that went out this week specifically. So again, really just working to make sure that you all are staying up to date with where we are in the submission cycle. We do have that first deadline on Monday and then the second deadline approaching in a couple of weeks. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Leah. Yep. Talk about the section awards and lectures program timeline.
All right, thank you, Hannah. So my name is Leah Bland, and I manage the day-to-day operations of the Union Medals, Awards, and Prizes program, which you will hear us refer to as UMAP. And I am also helping out with the section awards and lectures program. Next slide, please. So before I point out some key dates, I do just want to mention really quickly that hydrology does have a separate timeline from the rest of the group. So staff will be reaching out to them separately to provide that information. So some key dates that I want you all to be aware of as we head into the nomination deadline, which is coming up March 13th, is that April 1st is when the committees will get access to the nominations. So as Rosa has mentioned, for those who haven't completed their committee rosters, if you all could please work to do so. We want to have everybody in place before the April 1st deadline so that they can be onboarded and be ready to go once that date comes. May 18th is when recommendation reports will be due to staff. So that is when the committees will need to give us their reports so that we can get it over to you all for your review and approval. And then June 5th is a deadline that we are asking to get the sign off from you all so that we can move forward with reaching out to the honorees regarding next steps with the ethics review process. Next slide. And then, as Rosa mentioned, we'll be doing some outreach in March. The first thing that we will be doing for the selection committees will be holding a webinar to onboard them about what to expect with the review period. That'll be on March 10th, so there'll be some communications going out to the committee soon about that. It will be recorded, so if there are people who cannot attend, we will send a recording out. And then also for committees that aren't in place, as soon as they are finalized, we will be sending out the link as well, and will be available if they have any questions about the information provided in that webinar. We'll also be going over in more detail timeline and deadlines for the committees, and then also sort of telling them what to expect with nomination materials as we get closer to that April 1st date for when they will get access to the nominations. Next slide, and I think I'm going to hand it back over to Hannah.
Thanks, Leah. Josh, you can go to the next slide. So just very briefly, since sections are also involved in the first stage of the fellows review process, I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of some important dates there as well. So the section fellows review committee period this year will be from March 27th to May 8th, with recommendation reports being due by May 15th. Of course, then after that, nominations move on to the next stage of the review process, to the final selection committee. So just really wanted to highlight that as that work will begin shortly as well. And I will be reaching out to your section fellows review committees with additional information. Josh, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And then I'm not going to read through any of this in detail, but as Rosa mentioned, I think at the top of the call, you will be getting materials after this. So if you wanted to take a look at the specifics of the Union Medals, Awards, and Prizes timeline, that information is here for you all as well. And of course, if you have any questions, Josh, you can go to the next slide. All of our email addresses are here. So if you have specific questions about section awards and lectures, that email address is here, as well as the one that we use for fellows, and then the one that we use for the Union Medals, Awards, and Prizes program. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns at all. And we look forward to working with you all as usual.
Thanks so much. I think we have a few minutes for questions since we've got the honors team. Obviously, they're always available. And I see a long-ish, thanks, Rachel, question in the chat. So I'm going to ask one of the team to kind of read that through so that we can answer. But in the meantime, does anyone want to come on with any questions for the team while we've got a few minutes? And I did see the conversation here around volunteerism, right? And being able to secure volunteers. I don't know if this is helpful or not. I mean, I do kind of connect with others across kind of the association professional scope span of folks who do this kind of work, and it's happening across a lot of different association spaces of trying to secure volunteers, but we certainly want to find ways to help. But I see two hands now, so let's go to Stephen and then Martha.
Yeah, I mentioned this on a previous meeting and seems appropriate to bring it up again right now, is that there's been considerable chatter among section leadership about the two-step process being too cumbersome and really making it much harder to get nominations through the system. I understand the reasons AGU's done this, but I think it's perhaps conceivable that it's done more harm than good.
No, I appreciate that feedback, and we have gotten mixed feedback. I'll see if the rest of the team wants to jump in, and we continue to talk about the rubric that's used through the Honors and Recognition Committee, and we want to keep getting the feedback as we have these meetings quarterly. We recently updated the rubric, not what the piece that you're speaking to, but in terms of the weighting of some of the categories. So that's the newest piece that came through the committee. Does anyone else want to mention anything on this from the honors team, or shall we
So
move?
yeah, I could just chime in, and this is sort of
Sure.
in regards to Rachel's comment. So
Okay.
the tips for anonymizing a nomination, I didn't think everyone should just be aware that the UMAC, that was done for the entire UMAC program. So it's not specified for a specific award, medal, or prize. It has to be written general enough that it could be applicable to anyone. So they're just examples to showcase how you could write about someone's science or their service without giving away information that can sort of out who they are. Um, with that said, I will say just from me sitting in on the meetings, is that the first round, a lot of the committees are not, if there is information in there that might be able to identify who the person is, they really don't hold that against the candidate. They are really just looking to make sure that the nominee meets the criteria for the award and align with AGU values. But I just want everyone to be aware that when we are providing resources for the program, we have to write it general enough and broadly enough where it can be applicable across all the 30 different awards, medals, and prizes. But as Rosa mentioned, we are definitely still collecting feedback. And so this is feedback that is noted, and we will, continue to keep the Honors and Recognition Committee abreast of what we're hearing from the community.
Thanks, Leah. Let's go to Martha.
Right. Thank you. Thought I had turned my video on. Anyway, I agree definitely with what was just said. I've heard lots of feedback, the same thing. Nobody likes the two-step process. But the main thing I wanted to ask about these AGU values, we've been I've been working on a couple of nominations, and we don't really know who evaluates the values statements. That seems quite different from everything else. There's no limit on how long it can be, and also the the values. There's a description of what you should say about values, which gives different values from the values that are on the AGU webpage about our values. And it wasn't clear who actually decides, is it one of these things like this two-step process where the AGU people say, oh, they don't have enough values, or is it go to the committee? Et cetera.
So thank you, Martha. Let me just make it clear. So staff are not reviewing any of the nominations to make sure that candidates align with the criteria AGU values. That is solely done by the selection committees. And they are reviewing it in alignment with the current AGU values. So they're not changing or selecting which AGU values apply to the medals,
Um,
awards, or prizes. Oh,
but
sorry.
in the description, when you ask, they say, let's see, what was it? There's a couple that they have. So there's some values like excellence, cooperation are two values that are on the web page and that I always thought were some of the values, but they're not in the description of when they tell people that there's a whole section about, talk about these values, and they're not in there. And instead there's another value, and I can't remember which it is, but they don't align with each other. There's like this, section about and there's a link to the values in that, and those values in the link are not the same as the values that are in the explanation of how to write value statement.
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you referring to like the examples that we sort of said,
Yeah.
like, okay, so those are just examples on how so those are examples of how they can address the AGU values, and that came from feedback from nominators and supporters who wanted guidance for how do they address. So like what are some ways you can showcase leadership? What are some ways that you can showcase diversity? So that was the H&R Committee's response to providing examples of how you can address the certain categories of AGU values.
Um, yeah. Okay, but it's not the same values. They don't have the same values in there. There's open science is a value in that one, but not in the main values statement and things like that. So it's just
So yeah,
um
I'll go back and look at it. It might be listed as an example, but yes, they are still evaluated based on the core AGU values, which is like
mm,
excellence, leadership,
okay.
respect. But we
Yeah, I
will
would
look at
suggest that
the
you add that to you put those into that part because the people I'm working with said, oh, that's not in there. We're going to use the other ones that are in the examples. So if that's an
okay.
issue,
Okay.
Yeah, we can
yeah.
certainly look at that and just make sure the guidance is clear. And if we need to add additional notes or go to the committee for some changes, we can do that as well. So we've got the list of who to contact for each of the awards. There's different um, uh, emails. You will get the PowerPoint so that you can actually click on these, but these are who they are. So I want to make sure we get to our next session topic and the discussion. So Debbie, and I'm not sure if Vicky was able to join, but Debbie from the meetings team is going to give a little bit of an update on some feedback we've gotten on the post survey for AGU 25. I will mention that there's a lot of information here. The PowerPoint that we end up sending you is going to have a lot more information on the survey results. It was just kind of dense to put in here and still have our discussion and keep on time. So we'll have additional information than what you see here. But Debbie, why don't I turn it over to you?
Yes, thank you, Rosa. Lovely to be here with all of you today. As Rosa mentioned, I'm representing the meetings team, and we'll walk you through some of the data that we collected from our post-event survey. So, Josh, if you want to move forward. Next slide. All right, so before we get into the actual content, we just want to give you an overview of how many people actually participated in the survey. You can see the total number there and how it relates to in-person versus virtual. The 10% percentage is pretty standard for what we see in relation to participation in the post-event survey. Next slide. We just wanted to give you a breakdown of that 10% and how it relates to career stage, their work setting, and the location as where they are related to. It helps give some perspective as you're looking at the post-event survey data. Next slide. Again, in relation to attendance, we broke it down into in-person versus virtual. You can see those percentages here, and some of the feedback that we got is in relation to their perspective and how they received the information from the meeting itself. Next slide. Here again, you can see how the survey data was broken down by career stage. How many of those participated in the survey were students, early career, mid-career, experienced, and retired, and how they felt about the meeting overall in relation to their career stage. Next slide. Primary goals for attending, again, broken down by career stage. You can kind of see them ranked. They are primarily the same with the exception of students. Just wanted to call out there that one of their primary goals for attending is obviously to make new professional connections. However, the other career stages were pretty consistent with professional development, networking, and recognition for their work. Next slide. Best aspects for the program. Again, these are broken down into key themes. We saw kind of a groupings of feedback relation to diversity of topics, strength of poster sessions, networking, of course, and then the quality of the scientific content. And we just pulled some of the consistent themes that we saw within each of these categories. And again, as Rosa mentioned, these slides will be shared with you at a later time, so you can review some of this information at your leisure and find some more data points that are hidden within the slides. Next slide, Josh. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, happy to field them.
All right, thanks, Debbie. Our next section is the breakout sessions where you can talk a little bit more about what your experience was at AGU 25. One of the reasons we put these questions in here is that I was sitting in on the leadership call, I think last month, where someone piped in, I'm not remembering which section leader, saying, would there be more opportunity to provide feedback? So this is that opportunity. Obviously, there are others as well. So why don't we go and look at the questions? So you should have seen these in the agenda that we emailed out a couple of times before the meeting. But how can we make your section more visible during the annual meeting? how can we make the networking spaces more useful? These are very intentional questions based on feedback that we've been hearing from section leaders already. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to get into breakouts, but then come back out of those breakouts and then talk to each other, talk to staff about what you're seeing. And this is meant to be broader than, it can include, but broader than the reception, the combined reception. There are a lot of opportunities and participation for sections throughout the conference, and just want to get your general sense. So if it's okay, instead of kind of posing questions with Debbie now, I'll ask that we go into the breakout sessions, and then you can provide your feedback. Debbie will still be here from the meetings team, as will other staff, to hear what you have to say and answer any other questions. So you have about 10 minutes-ish. If you remember, pick a person to report out, and we'll give about 5 minutes or more, hopefully, to have us hear your thoughts and discuss and answer questions. So with that, why don't we have Josh get folks into the rooms? Thanks for participating. Appreciate it.
Okay, all of the members should be in their breakout rooms.
Okay, great. So we've got staff left here. Why don't we turn off the recording? All right. So why don't we do the reporting out? Why don't we take down the slides? We can kind of see each other for a bit. All right. So there were three groups. Doesn't matter which of the groups goes first. So who wants to volunteer to go first and do a report out?
I can go.
Great, thanks.
Hi. So our group discussed, I'm not sure we had the questions exactly right, but first we talked about networking opportunities at the meeting and how that kind of worked out. And the main message we got from all the sections represented in our breakout room was that the combined Tuesday night reception was a disaster, and that no one could find their section. The crowd was too big. There wasn't enough seating, and that people couldn't find their section, and the attendance was very, very low compared to normal. One note about that is that it didn't seem to be listed. If you searched by section through the program, it didn't seem to be listed there. So I talked to a number of people that didn't even know that that was the reception. Um, and then the other question about how to make sections more visible during the meeting. A couple of like concrete suggestions were brought forth. One was like they have a dedicated space for like editors to meet. If there could be dedicated rooms per section, that we could have like all our business meetings and come meet leadership and networking opportunities all in one place. That seemed like a very popular idea. Obviously, something like 25 rooms is probably a lot to ask for, but even if it was like for maybe 2 days of the week or something, people thought that would be really useful. Another idea that I think has been brought up before is to have different color badges or lanyards for each section. I guess that was tried before, but not sure why it hasn't continued, but it seems like that or some sort of flag or badge ribbons underneath your badge to identify sections. That seemed like a popular idea. And then the last point to make was that there really needs to be a lot of seating. People are exhausted from all the walking, and when there's a networking opportunity, we need more seats. So anyone jump in if that was in that group if I missed anything.
All right. Thanks, Ingrid. Let's go on to another volunteer from the next group. Who wants to go?
I can go.
Thanks.
Yeah, so maybe I wouldn't say that the big reception was like a disaster, but certainly it feels like a missed opportunity for networking, and I agree with a lot my group agree with a lot what Ingrid said. We really think it would be valuable to reinstate the section receptions on Tuesday nights. It's like a big section networking opportunity that's gone and that people were missing. And similar to what Ingrid said, if we're going to have this like big tent reception, there has to be better ways to identify people's sections identity with land on the registration, like the lanyard or whatever. Another thing is that we overall need help with AGU to advertise section events. So, for example, when we use the pods and the lounges, those did not appear in the app. So, and I'm pretty sure they did the year before. So that really needs to be part of the AGU, like all the section events up till a certain date. I think should really be in the. It has to be some kind of deadline, obviously, before the meeting. But like the section event, if we could have them in the app, that would be super helpful. And one idea was to, in addition maybe to pods and lounges, the hall where the registration takes place, maybe once it sort of empties out, maybe that could be a space for sections to put up tables or things like that. Also, yes, about the student and early career event, we had some conversation around that they were all they were kind of in poor locations, and at least the people in my group all had the experience of poor attendance, that a lot of people signed up for it, but they didn't show up. And it would be helpful to get a list of the people who had signed up and their emails so they could be reminded of their registration for this event. I think there was a lot of food going to waste at those events. So getting their emails would be super helpful. Finally, one good thing we want to point out is that it was good to have the meeting rooms that you could schedule. So that was super helpful. So something like that could be continued. That was really helpful for doing section business. Okay, so I don't know if any of my group want to add anything.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Osa. So the third group, who wants to jump in?
I guess that's me. We reiterated what everybody else said about the common reception being a disaster. Nobody really had a good experience and couldn't find people and didn't know where to go for a section. And then we did have some positive experiences with some of the networking events and receptions with some of the sections that actually did work well. And I'm not sure exactly, maybe the ones that didn't work well, there needs to be a little more discussion of that. But some of the ones that we talked about in some of the sections actually did work pretty well. And then some of the sections we tried in atmospheric sciences, we tried using one of the pods and even advertising it. And again, either we weren't successful in advertising it or doing something in the afternoon, like try right after lunch, was not effective because we didn't really get anybody to show up. And so, and there was some other talk about, there was some section leaders, there was a union session with a bunch of section leaders on a panel, and that didn't really have any attendance at all. So some of that, also the connections across within sections and across sections, is also needs to be rethought because it didn't seem to be working.
Thanks, Andrew. Did anyone else want to jump in? We appreciate the feedback. We truly do. That's why we wanted to put these questions out here. Well, yes, Sonia, we have a few hands, so let others talk. So Sonia, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to just make a note about our experience with the early career event. Ours was well attended. However, it was difficult. It was a difficult process. So in past years, when you would go to register for a section event, like for us, it's our student early career event. So for one would only be able to see that event if they were affiliated with the section. And that has helped us get the right people to our events. and not, just have people signing up for what looks like kind of a cheap lunch. And this year, our event filled up very, very quickly, and that was confusing because that usually doesn't happen. And then we reached out to Josh, and it turned out he shared the primary affiliations of those people signed up, and they weren't affiliated with our section. And so he very kindly refunded those tickets to those people, and we were able to then get the right people to our event. But I really hope we can avoid that snafu in the future. I mean, yeah, I mean, our student early career event is like, it really, we want our section to be there. It's a limited number of people. So it's not really like a cross-section networking event.
No, thanks for those notes. Really appreciate that. Krissa.
Yeah, one other thing I went back to some of my notes from discussions with our section that I didn't get to raise in the breakout. One idea, and this is a little bit tangential, but Danny Kincaid was mentioning at AGU in Europe, I guess the sections can have tables in the exhibit hall, and that helps. I guess she's found that that's helpful as a meeting point, and just for people to get that kind of visibility of all the sections. And I wondered if that was something that had been done at AGU before an annual meeting, and so that might be something to consider, because that would help maybe with some of the visibility and just having a meeting point that everybody knows where it is.
Thanks, Krissa. We appreciate that. We've got a couple of minutes left. We do appreciate the comments, and wanted to give you additional time from, again, I think the leadership call where there wasn't enough time there. We've got Deb here from the meetings team who I know is noting this, and we'll share this with leadership. And Deb, not to put you on the spot, not sure if you wanted to say anything here as we wrap up.
No, I just want to thank everyone for their feedback. We did try some new things last year, so we will continue to reimagine the meeting, and all of your feedback is certainly welcome. So thank you all for your input today.
Thank you, Debbie. We appreciate your being here too. Anything else on any topic in the last minute or so? Well, as I always, oh, Sonia, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, please.
Since Aaliyah and Hannah are here, I don't know how the videos for the section lectures are going to be posted before. In the past few years, there's been like a link on the member profile to the recorded lectures. Is that happening this year?
So we will reach out to our web services team to get an idea on when that'll take place, because I know they have to get the content from projection. So we will reach out to them and then follow up with when you all can expect
Cool.
to be posted.
I've had somebody ask already where it was available, although is the content still available online? Like is the AGU content still available?
On the meetings page, or?
Yeah. I mean, I know that goes for a while. I don't know if it still is, and I wasn't sure if the lectures were one of the things that was on demand. But
Leah, this is Nicole. I can jump in.
Okay.
Sorry, just to let you know. So we did extend the availability of content this year. Usually it's only available till either the end of February, end of March. We did extend it through the end of April due to the hubs that we were hosting. So there's a delay. So generally the lectures don't get posted until all the content is taken down. So right now, if you go to the AGU annual meeting webpage, you can still access all the AGU 25 content until mid-April.
And does that include the lectures?
That includes the lectures, yes.
Okay, I can let them know to get it that way then, because they attended the meeting.
Yeah, anybody who's registered can still access that meeting until mid-April, and then any content would be made publicly after that.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I know we're over, so anyone who wants to hang out will hang with you for a little bit longer and keep talking. But I do want to thank all of you, as I usually do, for your volunteerism. I know there's a lot of things going on in the world, and there's a lot going on just in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see some of you who are attending council next week. I'll be there, so I'm glad to see you in person. And thanks for being on these calls. And Rachel, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, just one quick question. I was actually on the website, logged in because I went to the meeting, and I was trying to find our section lecture to watch it, and I couldn't find a link to it. I mean, how do you find the online recorded content?
Rachel, I can reach out to you directly because once you're logged into the mobile app, it should there if you go directly to the lecture, the recording link should be available. If you're not seeing it, I can contact you directly and work with you.
That would be great. I'm not seeing it for the Gutenberg lecture. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right. Anything else, anyone? All right, thanks again. We really appreciate all you do, and we'll see you next week or next meeting. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.